you know where I'm coming from in consciousness. I grew up in central Pennsylvania from a traditional Christian religious background. I was raised as an evangelical Lutheran, and on the other side of my family, they were Methodists. In the 1980s, when I was in graduate school at UCLA, I started studying alternative spiritual concepts and teachings. This was not part of my graduate school program. This is something that I started doing on my own. And I started with Nichiren Shoshu Buddhism. I studied self-realization with Paramahansa Yogananda. Not with him, he's been dead since 1950, but the teachings of Paramahansa Yogananda. I went to Louise Hay lectures. At that time on Wednesday night, they were known as the Hay Rides in West Hollywood. And I was also fortunate enough, I studied A Course in Miracles back in the day when Marianne Williamson was personally conducting the classes. So I moved to New York City in 2000, and someone noticed that I was reading a Carl Jung book on psychology, and they introduced me to Science of Mind in Manhattan, and it was a perfect match for me. So today I'm here to talk to you about about love, which is the theme for this month, because apparently word is out that I'm the love expert. Okay? I am so not. Okay? Just so we get that clear. So I'm definitely not an expert in the love department, as you're about to hear. So let's begin. As you know, life is sexually transmitted. Out of 250 million sperm cells, you are the one that made it here. So let's be clear, no one is like you. You are unique and special and wonderful. If only each of us really, really embodied that truth and understood it and knew it within us. So when you were born, you arrived here perfectly. You arrived here perfectly programmed. And as little children, we all had a natural tendency to focus on love. Our brains were like a new and empty iPhone. And this smartphone only contained one app called love, because that is all we needed. We were all whole, perfect, and complete. So what the hell happened, right? As we got older, we learned to focus our attention elsewhere. We were taught that we were separate from other people and that we have to compete to get ahead. Some of us may have been told that we are not good enough the way we are. We were taught to see the world the way others had grown to see it. Marianne Williamson said it perfectly. Love is what we were born with, and fear is what we learned here. We added too many apps to our life, and consequently, our life got complicated. And when we learned to embrace fear out of our own ignorance, the love we longed for got harder to find, and our life got messy. Our real personal electronic device, which is our brain, became overloaded and got a virus. Some of us go through life, our entire lives, with this bug, and we never get rid of it. And that, to me, is really a sad commentary on a life not fully lived. We think we are so smart, yet we can't fix ourselves. Love is our ultimate reality and our purpose on earth. To be consciously aware of it and to experience love in ourselves and others is the true meaning of our lives. Therefore, our unique spiritual journey is the unlearning of fear-based thoughts and the acceptance of love back into our hearts. And as mature adults, we cannot continue to blame our parents for the way we turned out to be. Most parents had good intentions, despite sometimes being a bad influence. Our parents did the best they could, because as little children, they too were taught what they later passed on to us. Love is not perceived by our five senses, but rather through a different kind of vision. And in metaphysics, we call this our third eye. Ralph Waldo Emerson said that love is a synonym for God. Love is the intuitive knowledge of our hearts. It's a cosmic force. It's energy. Love is unconditional. There is nothing to be done in order to receive it or deserve it. The love we desire is already within us and cannot be destroyed. Love is free from condemnation. It can only be hidden when we have too many apps open in our lives that are based on fear. The truth does not stop being the truth just because we are focused on Candy Crush or what Siri is telling us. We need a shift in our perception. Psychologist Carl Jung coined the phrase the collective unconsciousness. His idea was that if you went deeply into your mind and then deeply into my mind, there was a level that we all share. And science of mind goes one step further and says that this is all the same mind. We are all a shared identity with the one divine mind, and at the center of it all is love. Therefore, we are all deserving because of who we are, not because of the mistakes we made. The perfect you is the love within you. Your job is to allow your consciousness to be healed or corrected by removing the fearful thinking that surrounds your perfect self. And for those of you who may have studied A Course in Miracles, this correction in our perception about a situation is called atonement. In Science of Mind, we call it at one with, two phrases that mean the same thing. When doing spiritual mind treatment work, we are declaring our willingness to perceive a situation differently. We know in this teaching that fear is the opposite of love. So we give up our interpretations and opinions based on fear and declare that they may be replaced by truth and love. Surrendering a situation means surrendering our thoughts about a negative appearance. And when we change our negative thinking, we change our experience. We surrender to something that is bigger than ourselves, to a universe that knows what it is doing. And surrender also means giving up attachment to results. This is taking the ultimate responsibility for a situation by being responsible for our thoughts about it. We are not victims in Science of Mind teaching. We are responsible for every experience by way of cause and effect. And responsible minds that occasionally meander off course always know how to ask for help. Some people think that calling on a force greater than ourselves should make everything instantly wonderful. Well, the truth is it means inviting everything into our lives that will force us to grow. And if your friends can't support you in this, perhaps they are not returning love to you. So you better warn them to stand back, because personal growth in this teaching can get messy. We need to bring up all our emotional baggage so we can release it and let it go. And when we can let go of who we currently are, we become the possibility of who we can become. A nervous breakdown is a highly underrated experience for spiritual transformation. Okay? And with that said, I'm not recommending that you should have one. However, as emotionally painful as the experience is, it can be an important step toward a breakthrough that can lead to love. When you bottom out on an emotional level, you finally recognize that there is a power in the universe bigger than you are. And this power can do for you what you can't do for yourself. And the moment we do this is when our life can begin to change again, through the mind of that inner child that we were born with, focusing on love. So now the question is, who do you think you are? I'm old enough to remember a song by that title, Who Do You Think You Are? And the answer was Mr. Big Stuff. Does anybody remember that song? Oh, she do? Okay, so I should have Googled it. It was maybe the Pointer Sisters or Aretha Franklin. Disco song, I think. Maybe, yeah. Well, in the song, the answer was, you're never going to get my love, but I'm not going to go there. My point is that you really are big, and you really are God's gift to the world. And to think otherwise means that you are thinking small. And we don't do that here. The truth about who we really are never changes. So, have you forgotten how easy it is to forget? We forget who we really are. We identify with the idea of a small, separate self instead of the idea of a bigger and better reality shared by everyone. We really are big stuff, and it is our divine right to experience love. I live in Manhattan. It is very easy for me to get caught up in the cocktail party chatter with people who love to talk about their emotional problems. You know, there's a certain aspect of psychological healing that wants to analyze the darkness in order to reach the light. And the belief is that if we focus on our neuroses, their origins and dynamics, then we will be able to move beyond them. Well, that may well be all and good, but it takes a lot of time, and it can be expensive. You can spend years in the therapist's office trying to discover that certain something that your mother did to you when you were 3 years old that caused you to feel the emotional angst that you're still carrying with you today. Life is too short. Now, I'm not here to disparage those in the psychiatric profession because I know they help a lot of people, and they've helped me in the past. However, I'm just saying, based on my experience and my study of science of mind principles, I believe we get in life what we mentally focus on, and the results can be so much faster. We don't dwell on the problem in science of mind teaching. As a matter of fact, we are taught to see beyond the false appearance, focus on the positive, because we are not victims. We focus on a positive outcome because we believe that thoughts are things that manifest. It's mental cause leading to an effect. Therefore, believing makes it so. Even when we don't have any idea how the outcome will manifest. Sometimes we think it should be this way, when in truth, it could be so much better. We must let go of the attachment we have on how we think the outcome should be. Now, it's said that desire is the cause of suffering, but it's really not desire's fault. It's our attachment to the outcome that causes suffering. So, let go of how you want the outcome to look. And I have witnessed this in my own life. Whenever I try to orchestrate the outcome the way I think it should be, I limit other possibilities. All I know is that change can be a great opportunity for growth. Marilyn Monroe put it this way. Were you ready? Marilyn Monroe. Sometimes good things fall apart, so better things can fall together. I love that. Yeah. And I was surprised that Marilyn Monroe said it, too. You know, the ego is literally a fearful thought. It's that virus in our computer brain that attacks our core system. So when we were growing up, very few of us were given unconditional love. Most of us don't recall our parents telling us we were perfect. In fact, oftentimes they told us the opposite. So what we lost in our psyche was a sense of our own power. And when you doubt your power, you're only giving power to your doubt. We don't love ourselves enough because we learn to embrace fear thoughts. Yet everything we want is on the other side of fear. Fear is the opposite of love, and it does not promote learning. It makes us neurotic. And by the time we reached adulthood, most of us were damaged goods. The ego is the great fault finder. It taught us selfishness. It taught us greed, judgment, and small-mindedness. Well, at least that's what it taught me. What we give to others, we give back to ourselves. And what we withhold from others, we withhold from ourselves. So attacking someone is like sending out that email. There's a copy for us in our sent folder that stays with us. So to condemn another is to condemn ourselves. Throughout our day, when we choose fear thoughts instead of love, we deny ourselves the experience of peace and joy.
And as extensions of the one mind, we are the spirit of compassion. And when we are in our right minds, we don't seek to judge, but rather to heal. When someone has attacked us, they have forgotten who they are, and we should see their behavior as a call for love. Our power lies in remaining non-reactive to them. And when this happens to me personally, I have a personal affirmation that I say to myself: don't yuck on my yum. The divine mind's alternative to fear is love. So to respond with love means that even within the chaos, love is still present. Love is still with you, and love will guide you. It will protect you and allow you to experience all that life brings. Love is what will allow you to respond from a place of acceptance and deep peace. Ultimately, when you do respond with love, love responds to you, creating light where only darkness was previously felt. So now our ego uses everything to lead us into anxiety. And spiritual mind treatment is a power that leads us back to peace. Tapping into the divine mind is utilizing a power and presence for good in the universe that supports us in every way. All we have to do is learn how to use it correctly. This power can guide us to a different perception of reality, one that is based on love rather than fear. So, have you ever realized we are actually always praying? If thoughts have power and are first cause leading to an effect, and most of us on the planet are thinking beings in one form or another, so it can be argued that we are always praying. And what you are thinking throughout the day is actually what you're praying for. Therefore, everyone is on a spiritual path. Some people just don't know it. And some of us are more enlightened than others. Enlightened people don't have anything we don't have. They have perfect love inside us, and so do we. The difference is that enlightened people don't have anything else. We are the ones who have more. We have more fear, more hurt, and more pain. We have too many apps in our life that are not serving us. So delete, delete, delete. The experience of love is a choice we make, a mental attitude to see love as the only real purpose and value in any situation. When we choose love, we place ourselves within a mental framework that leads to the unfoldment of events at the highest level of good for everyone involved. And we don't always know what that unfoldment will look like. And that is where faith comes in. When you understand this kind of knowingness by withdrawing your limited vision of the external world, unlimited possibilities can start happening to you. And by the time you focus your awareness into the realm of love, your intuitive push notifications will remind you what is perfectly suited for the next phase of your life. Finally, let's talk about love in regards to our personal romantic relationships. I saved the sexy part for last. An interesting aspect about personal growth for me is whenever I'm asked to speak, the topic that is given to me is usually out of my comfort zone, and that includes love. And the topic usually requires personal work for me to do before I can give the talk. So I don't recall the exact details about how I was first invited here, but it went something like this. Would you like to go to the Hamptons? Sure. When would you like me? Oh, February. Not July, February. Yeah. There's snow out there. I'm not going to the beach today. You want me to talk about love? Really? Me? Interesting. Scary. I've been single most of my adult life. What do I know about loving romantic relationships? You're looking at someone who used to be straight and married, then discovered he is gay, and now has been single most of my adult life. So what does that tell you? I'm a slow learner with commitment issues. It's true. It's really true. And I'm actually older than maybe what you think I am. I've been told I look younger than my age, so it's somewhat embarrassing, actually. I'm a work in progress in the love department, and I don't have all this stuff buttoned up yet. But here's what I've learned about myself recently. About 6 months ago, I decided I was tired of being single, and I wanted to have someone special in my life. Now, the choice to love is not always easy. And as I said before, the ego puts up a lot of barriers for us to keep our fear-based thoughts. Science of mind tells us that we can do mental treatment work to overcome this, but that is not what I did. Instead, I went rogue, and I put myself out there on Match.com and OkCupid, okay? It's been an interesting 6 months. I'm in real estate sales, and I work at the Corcoran Group in New York City. And on a professional level, I exhibit self-confidence in my job, and I have my act together. I deal with people who are putting up lots of money for a transaction. And when money is involved, people get crazy. Part of my job is being a therapist. I'm actually good at putting deals together and making people happy. However, what I finally had to admit to was that I'm not so good at helping myself. I'm really not so confident when it comes to my own personal relationships. I have had several dating fiascos recently where I have literally acted stupid. And I think to myself, did I really do that? Did I really just say that? Or was that my mother coming out of me? I was my own worst enemy. I was sabotaging all my potential relationships on the very first date. Consequently, I have learned that I have a lot of personal growth issues to clear up in my life before I can attract someone special in my life. And that is what has been holding me back. It's been a very humbling experience. Apparently, I have some judgment going on in my consciousness that I need to admit to. No one ever understands me. Yeah, that was it, right? Well, judgment is not a holy attribute. If we judge another person, then we get judged in return. And once again, attacking someone is like sending out that email. There is a copy kept for us in our sent folder. Now, perhaps because I live in the city, but I actually used to take pride in the fact that I don't want to waste my time with well-adjusted people. I mean, I actually used to think that. Because, the dysfunctional people were always more interesting to me. Now, I'm actually a happy, friendly person, and like most people, I'm only mildly judgmental in certain areas, and therefore, like most people, in certain areas, I'm only mildly miserable. But this judgment is blocking my good. Now, I'm not rude, and I would never overtly attack anyone. However, friends who know me well say that I may have come across as too reserved, or I may have personally presented body language as closed off or unfriendly, all appearing as judgmental. So, anyone single in here? Can you relate to what I'm talking about? Okay. You know how it is when you meet someone in person from the internet and they don't look like their picture? Well, apparently I was projecting a lot of judgment on that, and it came back to bite me like a boomerang very quickly. Later, I met someone else in person on the internet who made a comment about my picture. And I became very defensive, announcing it was taken recently within the past month. And you know what he said? Oh, well, you photograph really good. I immediately recognized the karma that presented itself to me. Now, on the flip side, there was one person that I really liked, but he was not into me. And that was a big blow to my ego. My actions toward him came across as too intense and too pushy. He actually told me that. And this was all because I liked him too much and too fast. Life is short. Go figure. I don't get it. And then with a bruised ego, I judged both him and myself because I did not understand what was happening with my emotions. Well, the truth is our thoughts determine our emotions, not the other way around. I was actually feeling sorry for my own bruised ego, and metaphysically, I knew that was the wrong thing to do. I now need a shift in my perception about this situation, and I am working on it. I'm the type of person that would prefer to go from meet and greet to instant relationship. That in-between process called dating is very challenging for me. So this is one of the big lessons I've learned. Forgiveness for yourself is very important. It's a conscious decision to focus on love and let the rest go. It is the key to inner peace by which our thoughts are transformed from fear to love. I can't beat myself over what I've done in the past. All right, I'm going to ask this again, a show of hands for any single people on here who may have put themselves out there on social. What? Oh, there you go. Good to know I'm not alone. Wow. Match.com, OkCupid, yeah. So you can relate to my experiences. All right, how about a show of hands for you married people who are on those sites? That will be the topic on my next talk. Okay? I'm amazed at the married people that send me those emails. Okay. It's not what I'm looking for. Manifesting love in our romantic life also requires some mental musculature in our decision-making process, because you know what they say, love is blind. We need to choose to see correctly. When we settle for the wrong person out of insecurity or fear, we are blocking the right person from appearing. Have any of you ever done a speed dating event? I'm not an extrovert, and I just can't make my case in 10 minutes or less. However, I know some people are really good at it. And according to Daniel Tosh, do you know who really makes a great first impression at a speed dating event? Liars. Makes sense, doesn't it? We need to be critical thinkers about relationships without being judgmental towards others, and I understand that's a fine line. Sometimes we hold on to and attract unhealthy relationships that do not serve us. So therefore, don't be jealous of the people who envy you. It's not mentally healthy. It's important that we let go of everything that does not serve our highest good. On the one hand, we may say we have faith that we will find our perfect romantic partner. While at the same time, we hold on to the thought that we will never find so-and-so who loved us like the previous person did. And that is a mental divide, and this division between heart and mind keeps our needle stuck and stops the romantic dance from moving forward. We must release the thought of not being loved the way someone loved us before. We all know what a rebound date is. It's usually a temporary fix that can be more painful than the previous relationship that ended. So it takes faith to keep moving on. It takes a deep inner knowingness that we are more than enough to call forth the loving relationships that we so desire and deserve. We decide what we want to see before we actually see it. We can find, and in fact we will find, whatever it is we focus on. We know in this teaching that we have free will. The divine mind can't force its way back into our thinking because that would violate our free will. We have to initiate the call. So taking responsibility for our lives literally means taking responsibility for our stinking thinking. We get to choose our suffering or our happiness. And our happiness is determined by what happened. Our happiness is not determined by what happened. That's just your story in the past, perceived incorrectly. Our happiness is determined by what is, and what is always perfect. The spiritual path involves taking conscious responsibility for what we choose to perceive. someone's guilt or someone's innocence. The choice to love is not always easy. We only see their innocence when that is all we want to see. So people are not perfect. Whether we choose to focus on the guilt in their personality or the innocence in their soul is up to us. Remember, their guilt is their fear, and there is no fear that love cannot dissolve. We can ask ourselves to declare our peace about a situation with spiritual mind treatment to change our perceptions. Then we no longer take part in life's battles, but rather we are lifted above them. Living an ambivalent life also gets ambivalent results, so clarity is really a good thing. When we know we are magnificent creatures with an infinite abundance of love to give, we start behaving that way. Every time you practice being authentic and true to yourself, you send a clear message to the universe about what you like and what you want and what you stand for. In return, you attract more of that into your experience. So try asking yourself these questions. What's important to me? What am I attracted to? And are you willing to know how loved you really are? These are important questions. It means you're ready to break down the walls of old beliefs and behaviors that have kept you prisoner by your own fears. You are willing to let the world see the authentic you. Oscar Wilde said this, "Be yourself because everyone else is already taken." And also be clear about what you want to experience and then go for it by not being attached to the outcome, but rather enjoy the journey. It's okay to be vulnerable when you have faith in the people around you and the world at large. So to love unconditionally is to love someone exactly as they are without trying to change them. This does not mean that we do not desire something better for them. It means that our desire for something better is not coming from our own insecurities. Then we can encourage them with no threat of being disappointed in them. Rather than searching for love to come to us, we can always project it outward to others. We then reconnect with the divine love that is inherent in each of us, and we open our hearts to love more deeply. This teaching is not for sissies. I close with this comment by E.E. Cummings. It takes courage to grow up and turn out to be who you really are. I love all of you here, and thank you so much for listening. Thank you.